If we go back to ancient times in the Bible, there was an event that almost wiped out all of humanity. This was the Great Flood. This was the heaviest punishment mentioned in the Bible. But why did God reach that point? What did people do that was so terrible that it became necessary to end the whole world? In the book of Genesis, there are almost no details. But there is an ancient book that has long been hidden and reveals answers that were not written in the usual Bible. And this is the book of Jubilees. This is not just an old manuscript. It has remained alive for more than 2,000 years inside the Orthodox Bible of Ethiopia. And within it are revelations that most people have not known for a long time. One of these is the true reason for the Great Flood. It also contains the roles of angels that are not mentioned in other books. And the most controversial of all, a solar calendar that is said to have been designed by God Himself. According to Jubilees, the calendar used by mankind for so many years is allegedly wrong. And even more surprising, Jubilees has 50 chapters. This is full of information about mysteries that the Bible did not finish explaining. But if it is that important, why was it completely banned? What does it contain that the religious leaders at that time could not accept? We will find out in this video. Let's go back to the time when this book was recorded. And this was during what is called the Maccabean era, a time of chaos, uprisings, and clashes between religions. And during this time, the book of Jubilees was written. And this is also where the controversy began. But before we begin, don't forget to like this video. It means a lot to us content creators. Thank you very much, and now let's begin. According to this book, God supposedly gave a clear command to Moses on Mount Sinai. Use the solar calendar that has exactly 364 days. This calendar is based on the movement of the sun, not the moon. And because its count is exactly 52 weeks, what happens is that the dates of the festivals no longer change. Every holy celebration falls on the same day of the week, and the entire religious year always runs smoothly and consistently. But this is exactly what started a big conflict and clash. In the Temple of Jerusalem, they use the lunar calendar. The lunar calendar is based on the phases of the moon. If they follow the Jubilees, the entire temple system would be disrupted, from their feasts to the offerings and rituals. For the religious leaders, this is dangerous. And their response was to ban the book, destroy the copies, and spread the order that no one should use it. The book of Jubilees was forgotten, surviving only in a few secret groups who also secretly kept copies. 2,000 years passed, and at a time when almost no one expected that any copies could still be recovered, some Bedouin shepherds discovered old jars filled with scrolls in the caves of Qumran by the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea Scrolls are ancient documents that contain the oldest versions of the books in the Bible. This became big news. Archaeologists arrived. They searched the caves. And among the many discoveries, there was a very rare treasure, pieces of the book of Jubilees, written in the original Hebrew script. This proved that it was truly an ancient book and not just a product of imagination. But there is another, even more amazing reason why we can read it in its entirety today: the country of Ethiopia. In the midst of many churches standardizing their canonical books, the Ethiopian Orthodoxy stood firm. In their own belief, they did not go along with the removal of books. They kept their ancient Bible along with the book of Jubilees. And because they were not affected by outside pressures, their old canon remained intact. Thus they saved this book that the whole world had almost erased. The book of Jubilees has a unique way of introducing itself. Unlike other ancient books that are said to be written by people, the book of Jubilees directly claims that it is not made by man. According to the text itself, its contents are revelation, a message whispered by a special angel called the Angel of the Presence. The Angel of the Presence is the name given to the angel who is always in front of God, according to some ancient traditions. According to the book itself, this angel dictated the entire content to Moses while he was on Mount Sinai for 40 days. While Moses was alone on the mountain, This is where he was given details that are not included in the usual scriptures. It has a clear structure. The book has 50 chapters, and its system for counting time is unique. It is not year by year like the modern calendar. It uses a 49-year cycle called Jubilees. For its author, this system was intentional to ensure accuracy. It is connected to the solar year, which has 364 days. This makes it accurate. In this arrangement, all important festivals and holy days do not change the day of the week. Every year, the dates fall on the same day. For the writer of Jubilees, this is said to be a clear sign of God's perfect order. Another major theme of the book is the idea that before anything happens in history, it is already part of God's plan. According to Jubilees, everything that happens in the Bible is part of a grand design. And this is where the concept of the heavenly tablets comes in. The heavenly tablets, according to some ancient traditions, are the original record of God's law that is in heaven. In the book of Exodus, we know the story. 2 stone tablets were given to Moses. The 10 Commandments were written there. But the book of Jubilees added something that most of the Bible did not mention. According to the book, the stone tablets that Moses held were only a copy of the original. The laws given to Israel were not made on that day. They had existed for a long time, perfect and complete even before the time of Moses. But why was it arranged that way in history and time? It was not an accident. It clearly wants to show that nothing happens that is not part of God's plan. Everything is aligned, arranged, and decided even before it happens. And the next secret of the book, the next revelation, deepens this idea even more. This is the first secret. According to the book of Jubilees, there are events that have long been destined even before the world as we know it began. This doesn't just go back to Genesis, not just to the first day of creation, but even further back to a time when there were no stars, no light, and nothing that humans could see. The book makes a surprising statement. The angels were created even before the light. This means that before there was a sun, moon, planets, or any form of life, the beings who dwell above were already alive. The version of Jubilees about the first day of creation is more detailed. According to this, before the world was formed in its physical form, God had already created the upper heavens, the first form of the earth, and the waters that would become the foundation of the world. But there was something even more important created on that day, the entire host of angels. This includes the angels of the presence and even the spirits assigned to control the forces of nature, such as the wind, rain, and weather. And that's not all. According to Jubilees, even before heaven and earth were created, God had already established the Sabbath. It wasn't just a simple day for people to rest. In the perspective of Jubilees, the Sabbath is a cosmic law recorded in the heavenly tablets even before anything existed. In its description of the Garden of Eden, there are also details not found in the usual story of Genesis. Adam and Eve were not simply naked. According to the book, they were wearing garments made of light, a symbol of purity, newness, and almost angelic in appearance. But the biggest difference is about the snake. The book is straightforward. The serpent in Eden is Satan himself. It wasn't just an animal that was used. From the very beginning of human history, the situation was already clear. A spiritual war is taking place between good and evil. Overall, Jubilee shows that before humans were created, the laws, sacred days, and main characters in the cosmic story of humanity were already established. There was already a design. There was already a plan. Secret 2. According to the book of Jubilees, the evil that brought about the great flood did not begin on earth. According to the book, it first emerged in heaven itself and was carefully planned by evil forces. This is where a strange group first appears, the Watchers. The Watchers are angels assigned to observe and guide humanity. At first, their intentions were good. They wanted to help people. They wanted to teach the right way of living. But little by little, they went astray. They started teaching forbidden knowledge, secrets that, according to Jubilees, humans were not supposed to know. This includes sorcery, healing, or rituals with magical elements, astrology, fortune-telling using the stars, making weapons, and using ornaments to deceive. As these teachings spread, sin and chaos became even more widespread until they made their greatest mistake. According to Jubilees, the Watchers were captivated by the beauty of human women, and because of this forbidden union, strange beings were born, the Nephilim. The Nephilim were giant beings, the offspring of the Watchers and women. They were enormous, incredibly strong, and extremely voracious. At first, they ate human food. When that ran out, they turned to animals, until it reached the point where they killed each other and ate humans. Because of them, the world was flooded with violence, evil, and injustice. But according to Jubilees, there was an even deeper character behind the chaos. Here, Mastema is introduced. Mastema, the leader of evil spirits, he represents the force of wrath and deception. According to the book, he was the one who provoked the Watchers. He was the one who started the chaos, and when he saw that God was about to punish them, he made a plan. When God decided to imprison the Watchers and destroy the evil spirits born from the Nephilim, Mastema approached him. He did not try to stop the flood. He did not stop the punishment. He had something cunning in mind. He asked that not all of the evil spirits be destroyed. He requested to keep 1/10 so he could use them for temptation, deception, and testing humanity. And surprisingly, according to Jubilees, God allowed him the remaining part of the evil spirits. The souls of the Nephilim are what we now call demons. Demons, evil spirits that, according to Jubilees, came from the dead giants. That's why there is no peace, because their origin is hybrid, half heaven, half human. They cannot enter any place of rest. That's why they are lost, chaotic, and always seeking to cause temptation. This is very different from the views of other religions and even from the traditional reading of Genesis. There is almost no explanation about the Nephilim or the fallen angels. In Jubilees, it is full of details, and the origin of evil is clearly outlined. This is a big claim. The demons that tempt and seduce people today are the spirits of the Nephilim, beings that should not exist. And their leader, Mastema, only acts because God allowed him to test humanity. So for Jubilees, the Great Flood was not just a punishment for humans. It was not just a natural tragedy. It was a cosmic operation, a cleansing of the world from violent giants, evil angels, and spirits born from the forbidden union. But even though the Nephilim disappeared and their fathers were drowned, the battle was not over. Because of Mastema's request, a part of evil remained in the world until today. And, according to Jubilees, this is the reason why evil never disappears from the world. But there's one important question. Where is Noah in all of this? What is his role in this spiritual war? Secret 3, God's law and Noah's role, according to the book of Jubilees. After the deep destruction of the world and the intense battle in the spiritual realm, the moment long warned of finally arrived, the Great Flood. But according to the book of Jubilees, this was not just a chaotic time of rain and deluge. It had an exact number, a whole year, complete and exact until the world was ready again. And here, another surprising detail emerged. In Genesis, it was said that the ark stopped at Mount Ararat, but in Jubilees, there is a more specific location, Mount Luber, one of the peaks of the Ararat range, but a different mountain altogether. This means it has its own sacred map, and it rearranges some places to show its own version of sacred history. After the waters receded, God established a new covenant with Noah and all his descendants. But according to Jubilees, this wasn't just a simple covenant. In this version, God immediately gave Noah some laws that, in the Bible, only appeared during the time of Moses. This included the Sabbath, not just as a day of rest, but as a reminder of the new beginning for humanity, distinguishing between clean and unclean animals. It was already clearly taught to Noah which animals could be eaten and offered. Feast of Weeks, also known as Shavuot. And according to Jubilees, this was already part of the covenant with Noah long before Sinai. In short, the message of the book is simple but powerful. God's law is eternal. It didn't start with Moses. It was just gradually revealed throughout history. And because Noah's children would face a new world, they needed a new order. That's why Jubilees presents a very symbolic scene. While following the command written on the heavenly tablets, Noah divided the whole land among his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. But there's a big twist here. Noah didn't choose. It wasn't a personal decision. It also wasn't because of migrations or the history of people. According to Jubilees, they cast lots, like drawing lots, to determine fate. They did this to show that the one who divided the world was not man, but God himself. This means that from the very beginning, it was already determined which race would live in which land. This was written in heaven before we entered the world. This kind of perspective is the reason why Jubilees is considered very different from the regular biblical narrative. It's more direct, more mystical, and has a more cosmic feel. Secret 4, the plagues and the war against the gods. According to the book of Jubilees, the departure of the Israelites from Egypt was not just an escape from slavery. Deeper than that, it was a spiritual war against the dark forces ruling over Egypt. In the version of Jubilees, the plagues that struck the Nile were not just warnings to force Pharaoh to surrender. Each plague was a direct attack on the gods of Egypt, gods considered evil spirits under the leadership of an ancient one, Mastema, the prince of wickedness. And Mastema wasn't just watching. According to the book, he joined the battle himself. One example is that he empowered the magicians of Egypt to make it seem like they could imitate Moses and Aaron. Like turning a staff into a snake, his goal was to disgrace the power of God, and his actions didn't end there. According to Jubilees, it was Mastema who kept hardening Pharaoh's heart. That's why he kept refusing to listen. But there was an even more serious event. In a terrifying scene, Jubilees tells that Mastema himself tried to kill Moses before he could even begin his mission to free Israel. A clear message. Mastema would do anything, even kill, to stop the people of God from being freed. But God acted even more powerfully. One by one, the plagues fell upon Egypt. And the worst of all was the death of the firstborn. From Pharaoh's own child to the lowest servant, no one was spared. This was the final blow that showed who truly holds the power over life. God, not the idols of Egypt. After this, Jubilees says that the angels imprisoned Mastema. His power was temporarily restrained while Israel prepared to leave, but the battle was not over yet. When the Israelites began to walk away from Egypt, Mastema was released again, and he immediately changed Pharaoh's mind. He hardened his heart again so that he would command the Egyptian army to chase Israel all the way to the Red Sea. Even though he was defeated, even though he failed repeatedly, Mastema did not stop. His goal was still to destroy Israel before they could cross. Secret 5. The book of Jubilees views the ancient patriarchs differently. Like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were not just good people. In the version of Jubilees, they knew God's law, a law that does not change, without beginning and without end. This means that their obedience and righteousness were not just because of culture or tradition, but because of a divine command that came directly from heaven. A surprising example of this is Abraham's circumcision. In the book of Genesis, there is a clear scene. God gave this to Abraham as a sign of the covenant at that time. But in Jubilees, the story is different. According to the book, circumcision has long been written on the heavenly tablets. These are holy records that, according to Jubilees, existed before the world was created. This means that this command is not new. It was not invented during Abraham's time. This is an eternal rule that is part of God's original design. Even more surprising, according to Jubilees, circumcision actually started in heaven. It is said that the angels, who are always in God's presence, practice it. This is where Jubilees differs greatly from the traditional story in the Bible. In Genesis, it is clear that the command was for Abraham and his descendants. But in Jubilees, it turns out that circumcision is a cosmic principle. It is a part of God's order throughout the whole universe. And that's not all. According to the book, Abraham was not alone in knowing God's commandments. There were angels who personally taught him. This was not a sudden visit. This was not just a quick message. In the version of Jubilees, the angels, especially the one called the Angel of the Presence, gave Abraham detailed teachings. How should sacrifices be performed? When should offerings be made? How should the special feasts be observed? And why is each one important? He was taught about feasts such as first fruits, Shavuot, and the Feast of Tabernacles. According to Jubilees, Abraham already knew about these before the law was given to Moses at Sinai. Here, the main theme of the book of Jubilees becomes evident. The law that Moses received was not new. It had already been given to the faithful patriarchs, and even before that, it was already in heaven itself. There is another surprising detail. The book says that Abraham made an effort to study the ancient books left by Enoch and Noah, and in order to read them, the angel taught him the Hebrew language, which according to Jubilees is the language of heaven. In the version of Jubilees, Abraham is not just the father of faith. He is a man personally taught by heaven, with access to ancient writings and the keeper of a law older than the world itself. Sixth secret. In the book of Jubilees, sin is not just a mistake. It is not simply a slip or a shortcoming. In the book's version, sin is considered a debt that carries weight, has consequences, and is recorded in heaven itself. According to Jubilees, every evil deed, especially if done intentionally and seriously, is written on the heavenly tablets. Nothing escapes. Nothing is forgotten. If a person does something, God knows about it. It's like a debt that needs to be paid, repented for, or forgiven at the right time. Using this idea, Jubilees retold the life of Joseph, the favorite son of Jacob. We already know the story: envy, anger, and betrayal. His brothers tried to kill him, but in the end, they sold him as a slave just to get him out of their lives. To cover up what they did, they put goat's blood on Joseph's clothes. It was a lie that made Jacob weep for a long time. But in Jubilees, there is an additional detail that is not mentioned in Genesis. What they did was written on the heavenly tablets, a grave sin, a debt to heaven. In Genesis, the emphasis is on the weeping, repentance, and the forgiveness given by Joseph. But in Jubilees, a deeper reality is shown. Even if forgiven on earth, the sin is recorded above. It's a reminder that wrongdoing carries weight in God's cosmic order. But the picture is not all about punishment. According to the book, the records in heaven are not just a list of sins. They also contain the path back to God. Repentance is also recorded there, if it is true and comes from the heart. So even though the sins of Joseph's brothers were heavy, the possibility of forgiveness is also written on the tablets if they truly repent. And when the time comes when they return humbled and asking for forgiveness, that debt can be forgiven. God does not erase history. He doesn't write as if nothing happened. But when a person truly returns to God, forgiveness itself becomes the new record in heaven. This is how profound and sacred the perspective of Jubilees is. Every action of a person, whether good or bad, leaves a mark before God. But in the same record where sin is written, there is also the door of mercy, the space for cleansing, and the reminder that God's justice and compassion move together. Secret 7. According to Jubilees, the effect of the first murder is deeper and heavier than what we commonly know. It told the story of Cain and Abel's lives with additional details. It even named the daughters of Adam and Eve and said that Cain's wife was Awan, his sister, because at that time there were no other people in the world. Regarding the offering, it is clear in Jubilees that God accepted Abel's best offering, but did not like Cain's. Because of this, Cain was filled with envy and anger until he killed his brother. But more importantly, Jubilees says that the commandment against killing was already written in the heavenly tablets long before the world was created. This means that what Cain did was not just a simple crime. He violated an ancient and sacred law. and this had a serious consequence. The land was said to be stained by Abel's blood, which caused the harvest and the vitality of nature to weaken for many generations. For Jubilees, Cain's sin was not just personal, but a cosmic destruction of the harmony of creation. This was the first force that brought violence, division, and the separation of man from God. Secret 8. Jubilees places great importance on cycles of time, especially the 7-year cycle and the larger 49-year cycle. For them, this is not just a calendar, it is part of the sacred structure of the world. Every 7th year, the land must rest. No planting, no pruning of vines, no harvesting for profit. This is said to be the rest for the land commanded by God so that nature can recover. But there is a bigger, more special cycle. After 49 years, the 50th year comes, the Jubilee. In this year, there are 2 consecutive years with no planting and no regular harvest. It's a huge test of trust in God. In the Jubilee, there are 3 major commands. All Hebrew slaves are set free no matter how long they have served. Debts are canceled so families can start over again. The land is returned to the original family so that wealth does not accumulate with just a few people. According to Jubilees, these cycles are recorded on the heavenly tablets. This is a sign that the true owner of time and land is God, not man. If these cycles are not followed, the nation will fall under punishment, like the loss of land or exile, because this violates God's original design for justice and equality. Secret 9. According to the book of Jubilees, Enoch was the first person to receive secret knowledge about the movement of the sun, moon, and stars. He supposedly received a very organized calendar from the angels. A year with 364 days. This is not a random number. 364 is exactly 52 weeks. No extra days. Nothing missing. For them, this was the perfect symbol of the number 7, the number of completeness in creation. The year was also divided into 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And each season had 91 days, which is exactly 13 weeks. Because of this, each season started on the same day of the week every year. Even more interesting, the book of Jubilees says that the new year always begins on a Wednesday, because Wednesday is said to be the day in creation when God made the sun, moon, and stars. Because of this system, important celebrations like Passover, Pentecost, and Tabernacles always fall on the same weekday every year, so there's no confusion about when to celebrate. This is very different from the lunar calendar that most people used back then, which often changed and required an extra month to match the seasons. But most importantly, the book of Jubilees showed that this is the true calendar that comes from God. They also warned that if people switched to the lunar calendar, the holy celebrations would no longer fall on the correct days, and this would break the connection with God's commandments. This is said to be the reason why many groups, including the Qumran community, the ones who made the Dead Sea Scrolls, separated from the Jerusalem temple. The dates of their festivals were different because they believed that the 364-day calendar was the one truly given from heaven. To this day, part of this tradition can still be seen in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which has celebrations anchored in this ancient system. Secret 10. The book of Jubilees says that while Moses was on Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights, the angel of the presence gave him a long prophecy about the future of Israel, and it almost sounded like an apocalypse. It was stated directly that the time would come when Israel would turn away from God. Because of this, it would result in severe punishment, exile, their scattering to different nations, and the destruction of the Jerusalem temple. This is similar to the warnings we hear from Jeremiah and Ezekiel, but that's not all. The prophecy also showed that a time will come when the influence of evil will grow stronger in the world. It's like saying that the power of Mastema and evil spirits will rise and humanity will undergo severe trials. It's like the scenes in Daniel and the book of Enoch. They say purification will happen. A time of hardship, but it's meant to train those who remain faithful. But the prophecy didn't end in darkness. After a long period of apostasy and punishment, the angel said that Israel would return to God. There would be repentance once again. The door to God's mercy will be opened once again, and that's where a new chapter will begin, a time when blessings will return, the restoration of their land and the return of peace. The book of Jubilees even said that there would be a new heaven and new earth, a new world where God will dwell with his people forever. Even though the theme is similar to the book of Revelation, the message of Jubilees is clear. There will be a coming judgment, but there is also a final redemption prepared for all the faithful who return to God.